All right, hey, it's Ronin Man. Today we're going to talk about women and aging, a very, very sensitive topic. I never hear anybody talking about it honestly. I never heard a guy, I personally have never heard a guy say an honest word about this topic. And, I hope this breaks open some barriers because aging is serious. It makes a big difference, okay? Aging is not like something that is just a side note, okay? Right? And aging for men and women. We're going to talk about both. We're going to talk about what it means for you as a MGTOW. And if you're young, this is like really a wake up call that you need to think about. It gives you something. I want to give you some perspective, right? I'll be 52 this month. I want to give some perspective to the younger guys so they can understand, so you can understand what you're going through and what you will go through and what your decisions and your commitments now, like how that's going to influence the future about how you feel. Because how you feel, you probably don't know how you're going to feel in the future. It's very difficult. Humans are terrible at predicting how they're going to feel. That's been proven a million times over and over. Just like whenever you have a goal, you think, if I get this much money in the bank, I'm going to feel this way. It's been proven over and over and over again. We have no idea how we're going to feel when we reach the goal. We're happy we reached it, but the way we feel is different than the way we predict. And if you have any doubt about this, write down how you think you're going to feel tonight when this happens or when that happens, right? Whether it's a good or bad thing. They've even proven that parents that lose children after about 3 years, they go back to the happiness level they were before the children were born. So, I'm sure that there's punctuated by deep grief and during birthdays, and this is real life out there. But in general, human beings have a certain level of happiness, and we tend to go back to that, whether good things happen or whether bad things happen, right? So I don't know how I got off on so much on that, but let's go with women and aging, right? I can tell you some stories about myself that were really surprising. I'm going to start with when I was young. I was a paper boy, and I used to deliver the paper for many years. And one day I went to deliver the paper, and I was getting older. I was getting in junior high school, and I was probably 13 or 14, and I was very sexually active by then, actually. So I always had girlfriends, and I was very busy at that time. So I wasn't like I didn't know what I was doing with sex. I was actually had a pretty dream life looking back. But I would collect the money for my paper route once a month. So I went to this was the 1970s, right? And so, I went to I remember one time there was one couple that would always meet me at the door in their underwear, and he was a policeman. And he had a very attractive wife too. Like she was always in like her bra and panties or like some kind of negligee, something very sexy, something that was so out of control. Looking back, because I was a kid, right? And they would answer the phone. I'm pretty sure they were swingers, in the 1970s, the sexual revolution was going on. And I was a tall kid. I was like same height as I am now. I basically was the same strength as I am now. And I was a huge kid, and so I looked older, right? So either way, they would greet me at the door in their underwear. I have no idea. They're always all sweaty. It looked like they were having sex. And I was so young that I wasn't quite sure what was going on. But looking back, I'm guessing they were swingers, and that they were like, hey, the paper boy, you want to fuck the paper boy? And she's like, sure. And then they were like offering this up to me. But either way, I can't be 100% sure. But I can just tell you it's very odd to answer with your wife all sweaty in your underwear to answer the door when the paper boy comes for money. No big deal. I liked him. I liked her. They were great. Nothing ever happened. That's not what the story's about. But there was another one. Okay, a woman. She was single, and I remember one day I went to her. It was always hard to collect from her. She never answered the door, and I was a nice kid. So if somebody didn't pay their bill, I would pay it. I was too embarrassed, so I just paid their bill, right? And so that would cut into my $40, which I got for doing the route. So I didn't like that, of course. But either way, so this woman was a couple months behind, and I knocked on her door. Sure enough, this time she opens it. She's wearing a very sexy negligee, right? And I'm like, hey, I'm collecting for the paper route. And then she said, she just looks at me and she goes, and she's like very sexy, right? Totally sexy. And she looks at me and she goes, I don't have the money. That's why, basically why I didn't answer the door, she was saying, right? And then she just looks at me and she looks down at her body and she goes, is there anything else you want? And I was like, I was so young. I was like, no, it's cool. I'll pay the bill, and I was sexually active with girls my age, but somehow this older woman just kind of like blew me away. She was so straightforward and she's standing there like almost naked. I'm like, and I'm thinking somebody's watching me from behind or whatever, but there wasn't anybody watching me. I was at her door and nobody else saw me and nobody saw her. And I could have gone right in there and it would have been awesome. And much better than her $3.25 or whatever her paper cost per month. I can't remember what it was, but something like that. I think it was $3.75 with Sunday included, something like that for the register. But she offered herself to me. And I remember like looking back, that woman's pretty cool. Obviously she got she wasn't going to do it for $6 or whatever it was for 2 months. She was, she thought I was attractive and she thought, well, fuck the paper boy, right? Don't have to pay the bill, fuck the paper boy. And that's pretty cool. And, she offered it up and, good for her, good for her. I didn't take her up on it. And, I regretted it ever since. I should have gone in. At least I should have gone in and closed the door. That's what I think now looking back. I was a young guy. I was very horny. I should have just gone in and closed the door and see what's going to happen, because, I'm sure something would have happened. And if not, it wouldn't have mattered because I was so shy. I was just going to stand there, right? I didn't know what I was going to do. She would have had to do everything to me if she did. But I regret that I didn't go in there actually, because that was one of my first like learning experiences, like of an adult woman. So, I think women should definitely be able to go their own way and do whatever they want. I'm not a big moralist. I don't think that, I have a different viewpoint on morals than a lot of people have. And I'm not, if that turns her on and that's the hot thing for her, in some countries she might want to wait till they're 18, but if, that's up to her as far as I'm concerned. I could care less. People do what they want to do. And I think us guys also need to think about what it is that makes us happy, right? And what makes us happy for 5 minutes is not the same thing that makes us happy for the next 5 years and the next 5 years and then the next 5 years. Because that's what a lot of young guys don't realize is they're going to keep getting older, right? They think, oh, I'm going to die before I'm 30 because I'm so crazy, But then when you get to 30, you say, well, hey, I'm still young, And then you get to 40 and you get to 50 and you realize, holy crap, it just keeps going, this thing. It's like, it doesn't stop, until it finally does stop. But, aging is a thing that influences so much stuff, right? As you're younger, obviously you're very horny. You can get a hard on in 2 seconds over anything. You don't realize it at the time. Don't get me wrong. You don't really realize it. You can't see yourself from the outside, but that's the truth. And as you get older, definitely you get less horny. There's a certain point in your life when you have major shifts in what you want sexually and what you are capable of doing, and even what you care about changes a lot, So one of the reasons why I'm not so into marriage is because I know that people sexually change so much as they age, and I know I change a lot, and I know for a fact that women change a lot, and you can't expect a woman to stay the same. She's not going to stay the same. I had one girlfriend who was just awesome in bed, and we dated. I had many other girlfriends, but I dated her for about 10 years, and she just always turned me on so much. But she was 5 years older than me. She was 5 years older than me. And that finally meant something because I met her when she was 35. And then when she was 45, we finally broke up once and for all. And, a woman, she was 35. She was very attractive, actually. She looked like a college student. But as she got older, towards 45, she definitely changed a lot in her looks. And she didn't get fat or anything like that. It's just that she aged very, very significantly after maybe about 40, I guess. I can't remember exactly, but I remember 45 was a huge difference from 35 for this particular person. And at the time, I went to my friend and I said to him, very honestly, I said, X is changing and I don't feel as turned on by her as I did before. And what I was trying to do is just to be honest with my friend. I was really trying to, I don't even feel like I have the right to say that, because I know I'm aging too, right? You know what I mean? That's why this topic never gets talked about, because everybody feels like, oh my God, women get older. Of course they do. You can't stop that. You can't be such an asshole. You don't care about humans at all. And again, that's not at all what this is talking about. I'm saying, like, honestly, like, how do you feel and what changes in you and in her, right? And like, you have to face this stuff. It's real. It's very, very real. And it sucks. In some ways it sucks. But I'll tell you what sucks much worse than reality is avoiding reality sucks even worse, because when you don't face things, when you don't face how you feel, when you don't think about the future, that you're going to change, your feelings are going to change, the people you date are going to change, the way you look at life is going to change. If you don't honestly look at that, you're going to be trapped like all guys are. And I say all because, I don't know what percent of guys are trapped, but I'm guessing it's in the high 90% of guys are trapped. And I think it's in the very high 90s. There's just very few guys who are free. Like true MGTOWs who really, they do what they want. They might be married, like I said in my last episode. There is the rare MGTOW who's married. I've seen it. I was taught by a guy like that, so I have a soft spot for these guys. Like Donald Trump, I think, is a MGTOW, the way he looks at life. And there are older guys, there are married guys, but most people stay single most of their life. That's how they avoid entanglements. But even then, you have long-term girlfriends. So let's talk about the reality of what happened to me with this girl. So she was so sexy to me. She drove me insane. And now if you saw her on the street, I don't know if you'd feel the same way, but I was like, to me, she was the type of girl who, she looked very plain when she was wearing her clothes. She was cute and everything, but she just looked normal. But when she took off her clothes, she had perfect shape. Really, she had perfect, like everything was perfect. Just to get specifics, like nipples were just absolutely huge. Eraser head perfect. The shape of her breasts, everything was just like, with no clothes on, she just looks so fantastic. Some girls, you take their clothes off, they look great in a dress. You take their clothes off and it's very, very depressing what they look like naked. She was the exact opposite. She looked normal when she had clothes on, and she looked sexy as hell when she took her clothes off. So that was one thing that always was just, it was like nuclear fire for me when I saw it, because you'd take your clothes off and you're like, ooh, yes, there it is underneath just for me, it's kind of feeling you have, right? And so I had great sex every time I met her. We had sex for 10 years. Every single time it was good. There was never one time with her when I had any kind of dysfunction at all. It was just 100% very happily, two rabbits going at it, completely melting together as human beings. Everything was great. And as she aged, she changed. I think, the way she looks at life changed. She's still an awesome person. She's still today an awesome person. But again, we're talking about a relationship. We're not talking about the basic level of value of a human being. Her value as a human being is just as high as mine, as high as anybody on the planet. She's an awesome person, right? But when it comes to relationships, sexual relations are a big part of it, right? And as she got older, she really changed. And of course, she drooped a little bit. She started to droop different parts of her body. Can't stop that. She started to get towards menopause, where her personality changed. She just got, she just got more, I don't know what you call it, just like more harsh, like before she was always very pleasant and very soft, the way she talked about things and people. And she got older, she just got more straight, like straight to the point, and I think it's pretty normal. I think a lot of people become like that. And that's one of the reasons, sexuality has a lot more to do than just physical. There's mental, there's everything, right? And the way someone talks, the way someone acts really influences how attracted I feel to them physically, right? Personality means a lot to me. It's not just body. It's obviously, personality is a huge thing. And her personality started to change. And the one thing was interesting was after she turned 40, after she turned 40, when she was younger, she wasn't Western. She was Asian. And she was very, she loved Western things when she was young. She loved movies. She loved it sounds stupid, but she loved coffee and bread and anything baked goods. She was a quite good cook, and she would just like always bring these little things for me, and we'd go out and eat. We've traveled all over the world together. And we would always have like nice food. And we had a ton of Japanese food too. I love Japanese food, and she loved Japanese food then too. But she was like one of these girls that was more on the edge of liking Western food than most girls, And as she got older, it was really interesting. She really changed. She went back to being almost like a nationalist for her country. And just didn't want to eat any bread anymore. She didn't want to drink coffee anymore. She only wanted green tea. She only wanted, native cuisine. And she started to say things like, we think this way. We act this way. And it was when she was younger, she was always like, she was open to anything. She was like totally open-minded to different things. And so I started to lose attractiveness. When I talked to my friend about her, my friend took it as a serious like assault on him and in women and men. And he thought it was just like, because my friend was married and he had been married to only one woman. He'd only been with one woman his whole life. And he took it as like a serious, like almost like a human rights violation. He was like, you can't not find a woman attractive. Like one of society's things is you're supposed to make whoever you're dating sexy for the rest of your life, right? And it's just not realistic, man. It's not. It's not freaking realistic, okay? You change, people change. Your sexuality is a very, very sensitive thing, and you need to be in touch with that. If you want to have a good sex life, you cannot kid yourself on sexuality. And your sexuality is going to change and affected by the way things look, smell, feel, the way you feel, the way your body chemistry and all that stuff, right? Changes all the time, right? Changes all the time. So I was like, it was my first time to be with a woman. She's 5 years older than me because I looked very young. I looked like I was in my 20s when I was in my 30s, definitely. And people always thought I was in my 20s. Even today, people think I'm in my 30s and I'm in my 50s, right? So I looked young, I felt young, I was in good shape. So I didn't feel a lot of effects of aging myself. And my girlfriends were usually tended to be young. So this was kind of unique for me to be able to see a woman who was 5 years older than me and watch her age and what she went through. And I just had to finally accept it to myself that, she broke it off with me in the end, but I don't know how much longer I could have, she might have broken it off at a good time because definitely sexually I was starting to lose interest, sex was still the same and it looked the same. Probably if you had a video camera, it probably didn't look that different, but it was felt different. I felt less attracted, and I just felt less fire. I used to feel when I was with her, I felt like I just had to, I felt like I had to grind her so hard and destroy her body. I just felt so turned on by her. It was so like I could just, I could not do it enough. I could not, you know what I mean? It was like, we were just like two lovebirds in heat, like all the time. And that's hot and that's great, but that definitely disappeared. And it's probably a combination of knowing her for so long and also aging her, whatever the hell. But the reality is you're going to have to deal with this as a MGTOW. You have to, if you make a decision to be with a woman for the rest of your life, personally, I think it's kind of a mistake because if it's your lover, okay, if it's a roommate, that's fine, or it's a employee or whatever. But sex, man, sex is fucking complicated, right? It's leave yourself open, you guys. You're gonna change. They're gonna change. Things are gonna change, and you want to keep your options open. And also, just even same for her. If she's in a relationship now, and I hope she's happy. I really hope that is what she wanted. And I know for me it was very painful because I think in my mind, she was such a great girlfriend. I had tons of other girlfriends, but I always thought to myself like, she's the one. That's what I thought. I thought, you know what I mean? She's like my love of my life, and I used to tell people that. Even though I was like dating other girls, it's like, she's the love. And I told her, I said, hey, you're the love of my life. Even though, she knew I had other girlfriends, and I really felt that way. But that lasted for 10 years and then it went away. So don't judge yourself. Okay. if you judge yourself, you're going to just, you got enough people that are going to judge you that are outside you, right? So don't judge yourself, okay? And don't make decisions, don't make commitments that with the idea that nothing's going to change and that you're always going to feel the same way. And that this is like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't even know what you're making when you make a commitment in reality, because you don't even know what's going to happen in the future, right? The whole sickness and health, right? And then once you've made that commitment, man, it's like you better be there until she dies, and you better, you know what I mean, put up with bringing her bedpan and this and that. That's the whole thing about marriage. I don't think it's such a great deal. And I personally don't want somebody doing that for me. I want to take care of myself. We're born alone, we die alone, we have tons of great experiences in the middle. And no one can tell you how to live your life. No one can tell you what you're supposed to do, what you have to do, what you have to feel. Your sexuality is a complicated thing. It's a very complicated thing. And you need to be, like, I'll just say one last thing is, like, for me, sexually has been very odd this last year, because I have not been my usual self where I'm out meeting new girls all the time and getting their phone numbers and stuff. I've really been in a bit of a monk mode this last year, not socially. And I've had plenty of girls come on to me, but I just don't feel like, right now I feel like there's other things in my life that I really care about. I'm really into like this channel. I'm into creating things. I'm really in the artist mode right now. And this is weird for me. This is very, very uncomfortable, you guys. I'm not used to this. My life was set, and everybody that knew me is Paul has, 5 girlfriends, 8 girlfriends, regulars. Then he's always got new girls coming in. They're always filtering in. They're filtering out. He's got 1 or 2 long-term girlfriends, and that's the way he is. And he does, I did all kinds of stuff sexually, and we had swinging parties. We did everything. It was fun. Traveled all over the world, and I thought that was going to be the way I am the rest of my life. And so, just like my girlfriend changed, I also changed. So if I had a girl right here, right now, who wanted to have sex like 5 times a day, that would be a bother for me right now, actually. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the mode I'm in right now. And if she needed it that much, then she would need a guy who was in that same mode, right? And I don't take any kind of medicine. I don't take Viagra. I don't take anything, I haven't even been to the doctor for like five years really, so I'm not into any of that kind of stuff. So I don't take any of that stuff. So how I stay, I would say, well, one thing is I stay true to myself. So whatever mode I'm in, that's the mode I'm in. I allow myself to be in that mode, sexually, mentally, everything, right? And then the next thing is that the reason why I don't need any kind of help to be sexually active, and a lot of guys my age do, well, one is because I keep myself in physical shape, but the other one is I keep my creative juices flowing. I keep my fantasies going. I keep my, I have a very positive outlook on life, and I'm able to, like that. I think that's what keeps me sexually. I would say I'm not at my prime, but for my age, I'm definitely happy with where I'm at, and capable of doing. So I'll probably go into another phase later in my life, maybe later this weekend. Who knows? I got a friend coming over. So, but I give myself that rope. I give myself that ability to change. I forgive myself. I'm honest with myself. I look at myself, and I think this is the only way you can really be a MGTOW. It's not a one-time thing. You don't just make this decision that you're going to be free, and you're going to be free because, like sexuality is a big part of being a man. And to be sexually active and to be sexually satisfied requires diligence, and it requires honesty, and it requires a lot of things, And I wish that for you, and I wish that for any woman listening to this too, is that you stay on that cutting edge where you're in touch with your feelings. And it's not always what you want to hear. What's really going on is not always what you want to hear, but it is what you want to hear, because there is a solution to every problem. There's a door that you can't even see that can be opened in the long hallway you see in front of you that doesn't look like there's any light. There's no way out, but there's a door there, right? And that's what part of these MGTOW videos and a part of all my friends brainstorming everything is trying to find those doors and find out who found a door before and what was that door? What was that solution they found that looks like it's not even there, right? So that's why it's good to be honest, is because there is a solution. There is a solution for every situation. And if you keep looking diligent, you will find happiness and you will find solutions and you will find a unique life as a man and going your own way and being your own man. And just like dancing to My Way for the inauguration ball, I wish that we all live our life in our own way. Thanks for listening, and subscribe to the channel. Click on that little red subscribe button and please share these videos. We got getting out, really putting my heart out here. I'm telling some real honest, true stories. I hope you appreciate it. I'd love to hear your stories, and I appreciate all the stuff I'm reading in the MGTOW community and reading on Reddit and seeing the videos. You guys are awesome. I love this community. Thank you very much for letting me be a part of it and sharing my experience. This is Ronin Man signing off. Thanks for listening.